If you've practiced self-inquiry for a while, you've probably hit this problem. You notice a thought. You turn attention inward, and suddenly, the I is gone. Nothing to hold on to, nothing to focus on. And then the mind panics and starts searching again. Today, I want to explain exactly what to do when the I seems to disappear, according to Ramana Maharshi, and just as importantly, what not to do. Let's start by understanding why this happens in the first place. Most people come to self-inquiry with a hidden assumption. They believe the practice means holding on to the sense of I. They treat the I as something solid, something that can be grasped like an object. But the I is not an object. When attention turns inward correctly, thoughts begin to weaken. The feeling of a solid me starts to loosen, and the mind, so used to having something to hold, interprets this as a problem. Here is the important correction. The I disappearing is not a mistake. The mistake is trying to bring it back as an object. What felt like failure is actually the practice working exactly as it should. Now, let's talk about the most common wrong reactions, because this is where most people derail themselves. When the I seems to vanish, the mind immediately wants to do something about it. The first wrong reaction is forcing the question, "Who am I?" over and over again. People turn it into a mantra, repeating it mechanically. But this just creates more mental noise. The second wrong reaction is searching for a sensation somewhere in the body. People look for something in the chest or the head, some feeling they can point to. But the self is not located in any particular place. The third wrong reaction is trying to recreate a previous state. Maybe yesterday, the inquiry felt clear. So today, when that clarity is absent, people try to manufacture it again. But each moment of inquiry is fresh. Here is the anchor point I want you to remember. The moment you start searching for the I, you've already left self-inquiry. The search itself is the departure. So what did Ramana actually teach about this situation? Let me walk through this slowly because this is the core teaching. Self-inquiry begins with a thought. Any thought will do. You notice something arising in the mind. Then you ask, to whom does this thought appear? This question redirects attention. Instead of following the thought outward, you turn back toward its source. Attention moves toward the sense of I. And then something happens. The I, which felt so solid and present, seems to dissolve or vanish. The one you were looking for cannot be found. This is where most practitioners panic and start searching again. But here is the key instruction. When the I is no longer felt clearly, do nothing. Do not search. Do not ask new questions. Do not try to stabilize anything. Simply remain. This is not a technique. It is simply what happens when you stop interfering. Ramana called this the natural state. It is what remains when the mind stops adding layers of effort and seeking. But this instruction creates another problem. People hear "do nothing" and they space out. They mistake blankness for awareness. So let me clarify what remaining is not. Remaining is not blankness or trance. It is not suppression of thought. It is not zoning out or checking out from present experience. Remaining is natural awareness without commentary. It is non-conceptual presence. There is no reference point, no me here looking at that over there. The division has collapsed, and the moment effort enters, you have started doing again. Here is the line I want you to remember. Self-inquiry doesn't end in an answer. It ends in the absence of the questioner. You don't find out who you are. The one who was asking dissolves into the asking. Now, what happens when thoughts return? Because they will return. When a thought arises again, do not judge it. Do not treat it as evidence that you failed. The appearance of thought is completely natural. Simply repeat the inquiry step. To whom does this thought appear? This brings attention back toward its source again. Here is the key reassurance. There is no final state you have to maintain. Inquiry is repeated only when thought reappears. That's all. When thought arises, inquire. When the questioner dissolves, remain. When thought arises again, inquire again. This removes all performance anxiety from the practice. Let me summarize everything in plain language. First, losing the I is not a problem. It is actually the practice working. The solid sense of me loosening is progress, not failure. Second, searching for the I is the problem. The moment you start looking for what was lost, you create the seeker again. Third, when the I fades, remain still. Don't do anything. Don't add anything. Simply be. Fourth, when thought returns, inquire again. No judgment, just the simple question, to whom does this appear? This is the complete practice. It has no stages to achieve, no levels to climb through. It is simply the direct pointing at what you already are until the pointing becomes unnecessary. If you want a step-by-step guided self-inquiry practice, watch the full practice video linked here and in the description. This video is part of the Ramana Maharshi Practical Self-Inquiry playlist.